twin goals of the local government code. One was really improving service delivery, therefore improving the quality of lives of people. If you devolve responsibilities and corresponding authority to local governments, we've seen local governments became more responsible, became more innovative in managing the affairs of local communities. The LG Code was really the policy framework for empowerment of local communities and local governments. For me, every Filipino deserves a minimum set of services. So full devolution will bring greater responsibilities to local governments. They will be fully accountable for service delivery, but they have all the needed resources, the wherewithal to steer development, define the destiny of their communities, reinforce their communities, and realize their dreams.
The local government code enacted in 1991 was really considered, in fact, is considered as the Bible of local governments in the country today. Our vision should not only be the vision of the leader, but it should be a shared vision of the leader and the constituency. The most important part here is engagement with the community, the dialogues between people. If we are open to learn from our successes and learn from our mistakes, we are in for a great adventure in governance. I always consider governance as an opportunity. It allows you to know your limitations and your strengths. I encourage everyone, give your best foot forward in helping our country through a strong local government.
Una-una sa local government code, binigyan ng power ang isang city for taxation. Then we do innovation on this. Dito kami gumawa at ang mga mayor namin ng mga programa, una para patapalakasin ang kita ng isang syudad. We lay our cards on the table. Ibig sabihin, kung gagawa kami ng isang programa, dapat alam ng mga kasama namin, mga constituent namin, para hindi kami magkamali. Sa lahat ng nilahad kong programa, sinasabi namin sa mga tao yan. Lahat dapat pakinggan, lahat dapat malaman.
We consider the code not just as a legal instrument. It's a blueprint of development for the country. And we believe that the code will actually facilitate. It will ensure genuine development to the country. If we are to harmonize, we have to ensure that these captive interventions are available, the captive interventions are accessible, and the captive interventions are in quality condition, ensuring that local government units will use the resources efficiently in order to improve the performance. And of course, part of the process is ensuring the local government academy will regularly assess the capacities of local government units. A lot of our local governments are development-oriented already. So we are assured that this country will be brought to a future that will really be good for, especially for the younger generation. So to all our local government units, our local government officials, this is a journey of a lifetime. The dream, the spirit behind the local government code is being actualized, will be actualized in 2022. We're preparing actually. This is an opportunity for us to better serve our constituents with the resources and the responsibilities that will be transferred to you. And I know with the types of leaders that we have now, that spirit of the local government code will actually be accomplished. So to all our local government officials, we are behind you. The Local Government Academy is always behind you in your capacity development requirements. And also, we trust that together we can
Recording in
actually
progress.
achieve this dream of a lifetime of local government units to really serve their constituent better.
To ensure the smooth conduct of the forum session, all participants are expected to comply with the following rules. 1. Please make sure that you logged in using the email address you provided during the registration. 2. Your full name must be reflected on your account name. Otherwise, please rename by clicking More beside your name in the participants list. You may also chat in your full name and the chat moderators will assist you in renaming your account. 3. Don't forget to click the Join Audio button to ensure that you can clearly hear the speakers. 4. Kindly ensure that your video camera is off and your microphone is on mute. 5. Please make sure to accomplish the feedback form. The link and the QR code will be flashed on the screen before the end of the session. If you are a Zoom participant, you must stay online for at least 1.5 hours. If you are a Facebook viewer, please comment down your full name, position, and organization 3 times. First, when you start watching. Second, when the chat moderators ask you to comment during the session. And third, when the technical host flashes the link and QR code of the feedback form before the session ends. Thank you.
Eternal God, Creator of the universe, there is no God but you. Great and wonderful are your works, wondrous are your ways. Thank you for the many splendored variety of your creation. Thank you for the many ways we affirm your presence and purpose, and the freedom to do so. Forgive our violation of your creation. Forgive our violence toward each other. We stand in awe and gratitude for your persistent love for each and all of your children. Grant to all and our leaders attributes of the strong, mutual respect in words and deed, the strength in their exercise of power, and the will for peace with justice for all. Grant us success in our endeavor and for the success of this activity, so that we may bring honor and praise to you. Eternal God, Creator of the universe, there is no God but you. Amen.
Thank you.
be empowered, and effective partners of the nation's development. Take part in building a promising future for our communities.
Naimbag amalem,
Marhay na aldaw,
mayap aabak,
maayong buntag,
maayong aga.
at magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat, and welcome to the closing ceremony of the Philippine Local Governance Forum 2021 with the theme, The Wonders of Devolution, 30 Years of Strong and Empowered Local Governments. Live na live po tayo rito ngayon sa Zoom na platform at napapanood din tayo live via Facebook and YouTube ng ating DILG Philippines Local Government Academy at ng mga DILG Regional Offices. Magandang umaga po ulit. Ako po si Eliza.
At ako naman si Charles. Truly, we are all ecstatic as we are all gathered in this virtual gathering in the pursuit of meaningful public service and as we gear up for full devolution. To all our local officials, local government stakeholders, as well as the people in communities who are working hand in pursuit of good local governance, mabuhay po kayong lahat. Kayo ang aming katuwang sa tapat na pamamahala at paglilingkod. Kayo din po ang aming inspirasyon upang magbigay ng mga magagandang captive programs tulad ng PLGF 2021.
The PLGF, or the Philippine Local Governance Forum, is an annual offering of the Department of the Interior and Local Government, together with the DILG bureaus, the Local Government Academy, and the DILG regional offices through the LGRRCs to support and guide the LGUs in transitioning into full devolution, making well-informed decisions and performing their key roles effectively in achieving local governance excellence. In the last 4 sessions of the PLGF, we highlighted 3 key areas, including empowerment, participation, and CapDev vis-a-vis the local governance areas and processes in the last 30 years. We have also invited local chief executives, local functionaries, government agencies, leagues officials, and even international partners para ibahagi ang kanilang mga natutunan at ang kanilang mga istorya sa larangan ng good local governance. These sharings are indeed strong manifestation that devolution really works. Pero bago po tayo tumungo sa session natin ngayong araw, allow us to give to you a run-through of what transpired during the last PLGF session held last October 22, 2021. Ito po ay sinimula ng ating DILG National Capital Region Regional Director, Maria Lourdes Agustin. She emphasized that the passing of the Local Government Code from 30 years ago enabled local officials and local governance stakeholders to work together to nurture self-sufficient local government units, and they need to be recognized. But of course, the only way to address persistent and complex development challenges is to work with the right stakeholders towards clear and realistic objectives. So, of course, she also emphasized that in order to ensure that LGUs deliver their new duties and functions, targeted package of capacity development interventions must be effectively done to address gaps identified during the previous Seal of Good Local Governance assessments. Though these gaps remain to hamper our targets, cooperation and partnership are crucial elements to the success of the implementation of the local government code.
Tama ka dyan, Alay. And sa mga kasama natin during the previous session, maalala din ninyo that we had an introduction of that sessions team na binigay sa atin ni Director Rolin Zambales of OPDS, where she highlighted that we must consider local and international vertical and horizontal partnerships for better public service delivery because it is the perfect time to revisit how international partnerships strengthened local government capacities, and that these partnerships have introduced us and sustained reforms in various areas. And actually, she ended by hoping that through this forum, we can emphasize that partnerships with various entities are integral in helping LGUs toward better public service in 2022 and beyond.
And speaking of international partners, we have invited also a representative from the World Bank by the name of Miss Maria Fiorella Fabella. She is a senior water supply and sanitation specialist. We have been partnering with the World Bank since last year with an intent to do benchmarking of LGU-run water utilities by using a tool called UOF, or the Utility of the Future. This aims to better the water utilities and water services. So this partnership through the UOF provides reliable, safe, transparent, and responsive water supply and sanitation services through efficient, resilient, and sustainable operations. I think we have guests here who are local government, from the local government units who have been familiar with this project. UOF was piloted in Metro Manila first. The World Bank coordinated with the Department of the Interior and local government in choosing the 10 pilot LGUs to work with this diagnostic assessment.
Yes, and speaking of partnership, nakasama din natin during the last session, the Deputy Resident Representative of UNDP, Mr. Edwin Carey, where he actually discussed effective local governance as the heart of achieving the SDGs and the goal of leaving no one behind. And UNDP is working with local governments in 3 areas. First, strengthening inclusive planning. Second, strengthening local governance innovations. And finally, SDG localization. And also some future cooperation with DILG and the LGUs, which include, among many others, the evaluation of the impact of COVID-19.
Yes, and speaking of international partners, we also have a representative from GIZ, Mr. Antonio Balang Jr., the senior advisor of the said organization. So he emphasized that the Global Initiative on Disaster Risk Management, which started last 2018 and was finally implemented just last year, October 2020, is focused on a global partnership for coherent planning, implementation, and reporting of the global agenda. So awareness on the cross-sectional nature of risk management and promoting coherence and cooperation, he emphasized, is non-negotiable among practitioners at the LGU level. Alam na alam natin yan, ang coherence and cooperation. He also mentioned that supporting the national and subnational, as well as the traditional and non-traditional DRRM actors, is also important and a must. He also concluded his presentation by saying that there must be a fostering of coherent understanding of risk in all relevant decision-making processes on the national, regional, and even on the international level.
Yes, and after noon, nagkaroon tayo ng presentation ng Move Up Mindanao kung saan pinaliwanag sa atin ng consortium manager na si Mr. Roger Cabilis Jr. the interventions included in that particular program, which include alternative temporary shelters, resilient livelihood, and social safety nets. And that project actually has initiated efforts such as the construction of isolation and quarantine facilities in Bukidnon and the integration of Move Up resilient strategies in local plans and policies.
And finally, the session ended with a very nice synthesis from DILG National Capital Region Assistant Regional Director, Attorney Annalyn Cortez. She emphasized the role of the partnership with international organizations and how it will open various opportunities for collaboration toward the common goal of strengthening the capacity of all stakeholders in the LGUs. This is, of course, towards the delivery of quality basic necessities to the communities. She also urged all the local government units, as well as the civil society organizations, to intensify their efforts to establish a constructive partnership with all stakeholders and international in the pursuit of local autonomy. So this session is a very interesting and a very fresh session that we had last October 20.
Yes, totoo naman, Alay, at talagang siksik, liglig ang ating mga program since October 12 at sa lahat ng sessions na na-undergo natin through this PLGF 2021. At ngayon, sa ating closing ceremony, kami ay may marami pang inihanda para sa ating mga local government units and DILG personnel to take on a greater role in shaping the future of their communities as well as for our country. And to start, allow us to introduce our first speaker. Ms. Thelma Vecina is the Executive Director of the Local Government Academy of the Department of the Interior and Local Government. She has vast experience in public service, primarily on local government administration and capacity development. She has participated in several programs on improving public sector efficiency here and abroad, both as participant and speaker. Her first stint in government service was in 1989 at the Department of Local Government, Region 8. In 1992, with the Local Government Academy, and thereafter steadily rose from the ranks. She has served the Academy in various capacities and contributed a lot to leading the organization attain its vision as the premier training and development institution for capability building towards innovative and effective local government. As Chief of the Education and Training Division, Chief of the Research and Policy Development Division, Head of the International Partnerships Unit, and of course, Assistant Director. As Executive Director of LGA, she strongly advocates for participatory governance, quality management system, human resource development, results-based management, and research-based capacity development interventions for local governments. Ms. Thelma Vicina holds a Master of Public Administration degree, major in Local Government and Regional Management from the University of the Philippines, Diliman. She earned her bachelor's degree in Commerce, major in Accounting from the University of San Carlos, Cebu City. Ladies and gentlemen, Director Thelma Vicina.
Thank you, Charles. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Sa lahat na nandito sa ating virtual room. Para sa ating mga esteemed guests, Senator Francis Tolentino, si House Speaker Lord Alan J. Velasco, to our local governments across the country, mga probinsya, syudad at municipalities, and to our barangays. Kay Yusek Marlo Aringan and esteemed officials of the DILG, my colleagues in the department and our hardworking field officers, para sa ating mga partners in the national government, in the private business sector and non-government organization, isang maganda at mapagpalang araw po sa inyong lahat, and welcome to the closing ceremony of the Philippine Local Governance Forum. 2021 marks a very important transition year for local governance. So as we transition towards full devolution in 2022, it is important that we are reminded of the lessons brought in by our devolution experience in the past 3 decades. So 30 years na po tayo sa local autonomy. So as we move forward towards full devolution, marami pong tanong about local autonomy, decentralization, kakayahan ng ating mga local government units. And in the past 3 decades of the local government code, there has been mountains of laws, policies, and programs para tulungan yung local autonomy at maging progresibo ang ating mga local government units. A wide array of these efforts required from LGUs are of course anchored on the provision of the local government code and other related laws, which are in turn anchored on the 1987 Constitution. The Seal of Good Local Governance, or SGLG, has been a great step moving forward in monitoring the ability of LGUs to accomplish what is asked of them. So as we move forward with full devolution as triggered by the Mandanas-Garcia ruling, and as enshrined in EO number 138, LGUs are once again given the opportunity to expand on their state of local autonomy. As the often quoted saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. So we must ensure that LGUs are ready to meet the responsibilities that will come their way in 2022. Ngayong araw, allow me to present to you a more targeted utilization of the data generated from the SGLG audit over the years. Take note, hindi po ito pag-uulit. This is not a repetition of the seal, but rather an active and practical application in information generation beneficial to decision makers at all levels. Today, we shall discuss the capacity and performance segmentation and the indicators and structure that comprise it. In the interest of time, kasi mahaba-haba itong ginawa dito namin sa DILG, no? With BLGS, at saka yung Office ni Yusek Marlo, at saka yung LGA, allow me to focus it down to 4 key points. Okay, point number 1. Passing the SGLG as a whole cannot be treated as a proxy indicator for either capacity or performance of LGUs because the technical design of the SGLG being currently a mismatch of processes, outputs, and some outcome indicators without a defined unifying logic. In short, the current state of the SGLG is spread wide. It works well as a data capture tool, but not as a concentrated way to determine actionable information at the onset. Thus, we need a 2-layer solution, which means that we must re-rationalize the seal and filter key indicators on capacity and performance of LGUs, and a structured way to process them accordingly. In this way, we are able to produce a lot more sense from the massive amount of data available from the seal. And then we go to point number 2. There are clear priority principles for the LGU transition that are the absorptive capacity of LGUs, yung kakayahan ng ating mga LGUs to take on the devolved functions, their service delivery, and the integrity in the use of the public funds. These indicators from the seal, so nandoon na sila sa seal, no? That suggest, they are in the seal that suggest capacity and performance indicator in this logic. The logic builds evidence on another principle that, okay, with the Mandanas-Garcia ruling, anong ibig sabihin nito? With the increase in the ERA or the national tax allocation or allotment, LGUs are expected to demonstrate the capacity to effectively and efficiently allocate resources through planning and perform by efficiently spending the funds allocated to their local priorities. To be clear, the indicators were already in the SGLG assessment. When we apply these rules, we are able to produce the indicators that have the highest fiscal, financial impact, legal implications, and indicate service delivery, with the caveat that these are specifically asked for as a must by various supporting policies. The indicators are not exclusive in any way, but they are the most concrete we have right now in determining the propensity of LGUs to perform well what is universally applied and utilized by all equality. The universality in scope is one of the key equalizing factors in the usage of these indicators because it avoids parity and are pre-vetted beforehand and are not novel, nor are they arbitrary. Further deliberation and analysis made by the DILG is able to further classify indicators as that of capacity or of performance, particularly yung sinasabi natin kanina that LG will be able to show their capacity to effectively and efficiently allocate resources through effective planning, and that LGUs are able to perform as determined by efficiently and effectively spending the funds allocated to local priorities. Point number 3, upon selecting indicators from the seal, the determination of the high and low categories to comprise the capacity and performance formula has been identified. By establishing a descriptive baseline for LGU level and indicator level insights, and then using the baseline to create the weighing factor per indicator, and then deploying the weighted average analysis and deciding the rationalized cut of high versus low from the range of a per LGU level analysis. In short, using the descriptive baseline, we were able to generate the factors needed to determine whether ang LGU natin is high, mataas, or mababa ang kanyang kapasidad or performance to take on the devolved services. And finally, point number 4, the SGLG provides direct indicators for the basic internal control systems under the foundational CAPDEV level, mga 101 and basic CAPDEV. SGLG can inform evidence-based local governance indicators for the enabling capacity development level. So while the coverage of the presentation is only supposed to cover the CAPDEV framework, allow me to briefly present the CAPDEV provision strategy that we have developed for LGUs as we transition or as we take on the devolved function. Now we know for a fact that LGUs are born equal with the same set of powers. Pare-pareho yan. Provinces, cities, and municipalities, pare-pareho po ang powers nila. But in reality, they are not equal in translating these powers into capacity and performance. Dahil nga iba-iba ang konteksto ng kanilang governance resources, location, and all. So we recognize the diversity of LGUs that the national government needs to segment them in terms of capacity and performance as they prepare for full devolution. And we can better understand the LGUs based on their capacity and performance to inform us, to inform the national government and others
Alright, nagkakaroon lang po tayo ngayon ng konting technical difficulty back to Tuesday.
Thelma will be back shortly.
Ayan, sige, habang naghihintay, siguro now's the time para tanungin natin ang ating mga audience. No, may pa-quiz pa tayo sa kanila, Alay.
Speaking of local governance month, tignan natin kung gaano natin kakilala ang ating mga local government units. I-comment natin sa Facebook or via Zoom. Our tech will be monitoring the answers. Ang tanong lang namin ay napakasimple. Ilan ang ating mga probinsya sa Pilipinas as of today? Ilan ang bilang ng ating mga probinsya sa Pilipinas as of today? Ayan, may mga
bibilis naman ng ating mga participants. So, ayan, agad pumasok. Agad nakikita namin yung mga sagot ninyo. May 17, merong 79, may 82 akong nakita kanina, merong 87, at karamihan ng sagot ay 81.
Meron ding 82.
Ayan, dagdag bawas tayo no, sa ating mga probinsya. Ilan ba ang mga probinsya natin, Alay?
Ilan nga ba? Bilangin natin.
And enumerate.
From A to Z. So, sa ngayon, meron tayong
81 provinces at the moment. Ang pinakahuling na dagdag na ating probinsya ay ang Dinagat Islands. Tama ba? Tama yon. Okay, ang Dinagat Islands. So as of the moment, we have 81 provinces. So yung mga nakasagot po ng tama, wala po tayong prize. Papalakpakan lang po natin kayo. Ayan. So maraming salamat sa inyong participation.
Mamaya magbabalik pa tayo sa mga maliliit nating patrivia. Ang prize natin dyan ay palakpak. Yeah, so, Ma'am Thelma?
Yeah, sorry for that. Medyo may problema sa aming connection dito. Anyway, I was cut at nandun ako sa, natapos ko i-present sa inyo yung SGLG, yung Seal of Good Local Governance, basihan ng national government, no, para magigabay sa gobyerno, para gabay sa DILG kung paano natin tutulungan ang ating mga local government in terms of capacity development program. So nandito na ako ngayon. So natapos natin tingnan ang seal. Ano naman ngayon? Paano natin ngayon igrupo yung ating mga LGUs? At anong klaseng interventions ang dapat ibigay sa kanila? Paano tayo nag-prepare for that? Okay? So a key consideration in the varying degree of LGU capacity to take on the additional responsibilities. Kasi nang ginawa natin kasi, Charles, yung segmentation, nakita natin talaga na magkaiba-iba ang level of capacity at performance ng ating LGU. So hindi pwede isang programa lang. So a key consideration is this varying level of degree of readiness. So ang tanong, paano tayo ngayon magsisimula to engage the LGUs? As pointed out earlier, the SGLG result as basis for the assessment of LGUs under segmentation to the quadrant. In line with that consideration, we adopt these quadrants to classify LGUs according to level of capacity vis-a-vis performance. Quadrant 1, evolve LGUs with high capacity and high performance into sources of good practices and innovations and exemplars of local governance under full devolution. So ang nasa quadrant 1, ito ang high capacity, high performance LGU. We move to quadrant 2. These are the LGUs with low capacity but high performance LGUs. So anong gagawin natin dito? We will unlock the capacity issues to seize in full the promises of full devolution and reinforce performance as a result of targeted CapDev solutions. Punta naman tayo sa quadrant 3. Ito yung mga LGUs with low capacity, low performance. Actually, ito yung priority natin na tututukan at tutulungan, no? So anong gagawin natin? We will engage these LGUs to catch up with other LGUs and provide them with targeted CapDev solutions. Okay? And then quadrant 4, anong mga LGUs ito? Ito yung high capacity, low performance. Anong gagawin natin? In the context of full devolution, we will provide targeted CapDev solutions so that we will be able to translate the high capacity to high performance. Okay. So these are the results of the segmentation of LGUs using the 2019 SGLG assessment. Initially, no, so ito yung hitsura, medyo maganda naman kasi ang majority ay nasa Q1, quadrant 1, high capacity, high performance LGU, 43.5%. Kaya lang, kailangan din natin pag-igihan ng pansin at tulong ang ating quadrant 3. Ito yung priority. Low capacity, low performance LGUs, 31.9% of the total LGUs. So, ang sinasabi natin dito, again, there may have been changes already in the LGUs because we used the seal of 2019, no? So, which is why ang ating mga DILG field officers, our regional offices, our LGRRCs, they're doing CapDev profiling so that we can validate this segmentation result. This will then be further validated, reinforced as our LGUs develop, formulate their CapDev agenda. Okay, so baka nga mas dumami pa ang nasa quadrant 1, no? So to assist both national and local governments in facing, kasi hindi naman pwede biglain, no? Dahil iba-iba ang kanilang kalagayan, kapasidad at kakayahan, no? In facing and designing the CapDev requirements for LGs in the quadrant, we were able to define levels of CapDev intervention as foundational CapDev. And these are the requirements to get the LGUs moving under a full devolution setup. These are the 101, basic internal control system and all. And then we have the enabling CAPDEP. These are the requirements to get the overall environment conducive for local governance and development. And finally, the developmental CAPDEP. These are the requirements to align LGU-specific LGU-specific development priorities with area-wide or province regional development. Itong mga specific CAPDEP interventions of the different levels are provided for. They are defined, they are explained in the DILG Memorandum Circular number 2021-067 dated June 23, 2021. So we have actually disseminated this DILG to all LGUs and the DILG offices. So if we plot these interventions to the quadrant, they will give us a differing configuration of the levels of CAPDEP in the quadrant. Kasi sabi nga natin, iba-iba ang kakayahan at kapasidad, no? So, paano natin ibibigay itong mga interventions, no? If we look at priority 1, which is in quadrant 3, low capacity, low performance, lahat ng levels of capacity interventions, foundational, enabling, and developmental CAPDEP are in their maximum. Talagang mataas ang pagtutok, ang pagbigay ng mga interventions dito sa quadrant 3 LGUs, yung kanina majority, no? So priority 1 LGUs must have access to mass interventions under foundational and enabling CAPDEP to help them transition well to the capacity requirements and deliver the objective of full devolution. Priority 2, quadrant 2, low capacity, low performance LGUs. Anong ibig sabihin ng mga interventions natin? Foundational and enabling CAPDEP are in the maximum and minimum developmental CAPDEP. No? Kailangan muna natin ayusin ang kanilang mga basic kapasidad and performance at saka yung enabling, making the environment conducive for excellence in local governance bago pumunta sa developmental CAPDEP aligning. No? And then, priority 3 in quadrant 4, high capacity but low performance, enabling and developmental CAPDEP interventions are in their maximum with minimum CAPDEP interventions dahil high capacity na. Okay? LGU shall have access to a mix of enabling and developmental CAPDEP using their areas of improvement in the SGLG. Titingnan natin ano ang kakulangan. And then the direction for area-wide development concern or common needs emerging from the CAPDEP agenda of component LGUs under the auspices of the provinces and cities. They need to align, okay? And then priority 4, these are the high capacity, high performance LGUs. All levels of CAPDEP interventions will now be in the minimum. Kayang-kaya na ng ating mga LGUs na nandito sa quadrant 1. In fact, these LGUs will be considered as our exemplars of good capacity and performance, and they can be sources of replication by diffusion to other LGUs. So ito yung paghuhugutan ng mga kwentong magaganda kung paano ginagawa ng ating mga LGUs ang kanilang mga mandato para magsibe ng maganda para sa kanilang mga constituents. Okay. So lastly, to facilitate the information sharing on CAPDEP, kasi kailangan alam ng sektor, ng lahat ng sektor, kung ano ang pangangailangan in terms of capacity, no? Capacity development na kailangan ng ating mga local governments yun. So yung information na yan kung anong pangangailangan nila ay hindi lang dapat nasa LGU. Kaya naman kami sa DILG, sa Local Government Academy, develop the online CAPDEP market system. And this is an online system that allows LGUs and service providers to post their CAPDEP needs and solution. Ito ay repository, no? And then also our local resource institutions and other service providers, national government agencies, no, can also post their CAPDEP programs, capacity development programs for LGUs. And also, this system will allow for a matching of the needs of LGUs to the reputable CAPDEV providers. So kung ako si LGU, pwede ko tingnan dito sa system na ito kung saan ako pwede kumuha or pwede mag-access ng programa para mas mapataas yung aking capacity to perform. Okay. So in the coming months, we will again be orienting the DILG, local resource institutions, and other service providers on this CAPDEV online market system. So as we receive the DTPs, we know may mga deadlines kung kailan gagawin, isusubmit yung mga DTPs of the provinces, cities, and municipalities, and even by the barangays. The DILG and the Local Government Academy and other national government agencies will continue to improve and make responsive our capacity development support of the government to local government units. So I think that's my presentation. I end here. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Director Thelma, for the LGU segmentation session. Before I proceed, we would like to greet Director Thelma a belated happy birthday. Happy birthday, ma'am. And yeah.
Thank you, Eliza.
Tulad nga po ng sinabi ni Ma'am Thelma, the LGU segmentation allows us to see the institutional readiness of our local government units for full devolution. Nabanggit din ni Ma'am Thelma ang seal of good local governance. At magandang introduction, magandang discussion yung nasimula ni Ma'am Thelma. So proceeding to our next session, this is very exciting for all the LGUs, I'm sure. Allow me to introduce our next speaker to discuss the strategies in implementing the most awaited seal of good local governance in 2020 under a full devolution environment. It is my privilege to introduce her. She has served this department for over 35 years with diverse work experiences, having worked in the DILG regional offices in Regions 6 and 4A, and executive offices in the central office, including the offices of the Undersecretary for Local Government and Acting Secretary as Chief of Staff. Prior to her appointment as Assistant Division Chief, then Division Chief, and later on, Assistant Director of the Bureau of Local Government Supervision. Prior to her appointment as Director 3, she was also the president of the Chiefs of the Vision Association and also served as acting executive director of the League of the Municipalities of the Philippines in 2001 in concurrent capacity. Currently, she is designated as the officer in charge of the BLGS. Her academic record includes a bachelor's degree in mass communication, cum laude, a master's degree in government management, top 3, and several awards in leadership and journalism. In 2020, she was also awarded the Malasakit Award by the DILG Central Office for her volunteerism in helping victims of calamities and frontliners affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Indeed, this award is a testament to her being a true servant leader. More than the accolades as a driver for excellent performance and initiator of policy reforms, she is simply VS to the BLGS staff, a caring, fun-loving, and generous friend, mentor, and colleague to all. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome Director Vivian P. Swansea.
Magandang umaga. Salamat, Eliza, for that kind introduction. Magandang umaga sa lahat, lalong-lalo na sa mga distinguished guests natin for this morning. Senator Francis Tolentino, who is also the chairperson in the Senate for Local Government, Speaker Lord Alan Velasco of the House of Representatives, at nandito rin yung ating USEC for Local Government, USEC Marlo Iringan, colleagues in the department at mga partners natin from the local government units. Magandang umaga sa lahat. Ang Bureau of Local Government Supervision ay kilala bilang taga-sukat ng performance ng mga local government units. Yan ay dahil madaming assessments at audits ang minamanage at sinusupervise ng bureau namin. Tulad ng Peace and Order Council Audit, environmental compliance audit, fisheries compliance audit. Yan yung pinakabagong audit na ginagawa namin ngayon, no? So pati fisheries compliance pinapakialaman na rin namin. Anti-Drug Abuse Council audit at mga assessments tulad ng assessment sa mga lupon tagapamayapa through the Lupon Tagapamayapa Incentive Award, pati na yung Citizen Satisfaction Index system na ina-assess namin yung service delivery performance ng mga LGUs through their citizens. And of course, ang pinakasikat sa lahat na ginagawa naming assessment, ang Seal of Good Local Governance. So this morning, I will be presenting the recommencement of the SGLG. Recommencement because for the last 2 years, the assessment for SGLG has been suspended. Alam niyo naman siguro kung bakit. It's because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So we are gearing up to restart the SGLG for next year's implementation. Siguro karamihan sa atin dito sa virtual room, alam na kung ano yung SGLG, no? But let me refresh lang, no, your memories kung ano ba talaga itong SGLG. This is an initiative, of course, by the DILG that aims to measure, assess, and incentivize good governance practices by our local government units. Sabi nga ni Director Telma kanina, importante itong SGLG because this is made as basis for determining the CapDev interventions that we have to provide to local government units. So let's go now to my presentation. So I will be discussing the concept of LGU performance assessment and how it relates to the DILG mandate. And then I will also give an overview and historical background of the Seal of Good Local Governance. And then I will be discussing also how we are preparing for the 2022 implementation of the SGLG. Here I will be presenting the structure of the Council of Good Local Governance, or CGLG, and how the performance indicators are being developed now that the SGLG is signed into law. So, ang 2022 assessment will be the first SGLG assessment when the law, after the law was signed. So more importantly, I will also provide a glimpse on the select proposed SGLG indicators. So to contextualize, allow me to define first what performance is. Generally, performance refers to the action or process of carrying out or accomplishing a task, while organizational performance refers to the actual output or result of an organization as measured against its intended outputs or goals or objectives. In the case of local government units, the basic outputs expected of them are manifested in Section 16 and 17 of the Local Government Code. Section 16 provides that fostering the general welfare should be the ultimate goal of the local government units. On the other hand, Section 17 enumerates the specific basic services and facilities that are related to the general welfare. And performance audit or assessment system are like in what you can see there. There's an arrow there in the screen which more or less approximates how far or how near local government units are towards achieving this ultimate goal. Assessment tools may gather data on how effective are your actions or decisions to get nearer to that goal. How timely are you in reaching that goal? Or how well did you empty your resource, or how you employ your resources in achieving your goal. Now let's relate LGU performance with the DILG's delegated mandate of general supervision. The implementation performance assessment systems, such as the SGLG, is in line with the department's general supervision mandate over local government units. Specifically, it is part of the DILG's performance oversight function, which involves the administration of performance assessment tools, also awards and incentive initiatives for LGUs. Through these programs, the department aims to recognize remarkable efforts from LGUs in pursuing the general welfare of their constituency and in enforcing existing laws within their jurisdiction. The results of these performance assessment systems help the national government in the provision of capacity development, as mentioned kanina by Director Telma, incentives and awards, and of course, disciplinary actions to LGUs. At the local level, results of these audits guide our LGUs in planning, budgeting, legislation, and in making executive decision or action. So there are various performance assessment systems being administered by the DILG and other national government agencies. So shown in this slide are examples. We at the DILG also aspire for the connectivity and harmonization of these systems and tools. That's why in SGLG, we also utilize the results of other performance assessments and recognition programs like the Gawad Kalasag, Competitiveness and Index, POC Performance Audit, and Child-Friendly Local Governance Audit. So let me share with you the key features of the Seal of Good Local Governance. The SGLG, as some of you may already know, is a progressive assessment system, meaning its criteria are regularly updated or upgraded to meet the challenges of the changing times. In fact, its predecessor, the Seal of Good Housekeeping or SGH, only looked into LGU's compliance with financial management policies, such as the Commission on Audit or COA findings, and with the full disclosure policy of the DILG. Then in 2014, we expanded the scope of the GFH to other governance areas. So that's the start of the SGLG. In SGLG, we subscribe to this performance framework. As you can see in your screen, it posits that boosting local government performance is a process of strengthening inputs in order to bring about the necessary outputs and outcomes or governance results. It also assumes that through upholding governance principles and exercising supervisory authority, LGUs will be able to strengthen their capacities and ultimately exemplify the necessary performance outputs and outcomes. To operationalize the performance framework, SGLG reflect indicators relating to these four local governance aspects. On LGU capacity, we ask the question, do the LGUs have the necessary structure, system, mechanisms, plan, and budget that will enable them to deliver their PPAs and services in line with the general welfare of their citizenry? For instance, mayroon ba silang adequate manpower, katulad ng local DRRM officer, social welfare and development officer? Mayroon ba silang comprehensive land use plan and comprehensive development which provide the development direction for a given period? On time ba ang approval ng kanilang budget? Simply put, these are the inputs necessary for local service delivery. What will help improve LGU capacity? One is through upholding the basic tenets of good governance. The SGLG also highlights the principle of transparency, participation, and accountability. The findings of the Commission of Audit and the LGU's adherence to the full disclosure policy form part of the assessment. There are also indicators that recognize the participation of CSOs in local special bodies, like the Local Development Council, that requires 1/4 of its members to come from civil society organizations. Third, we also emphasize the exercise of supervisory function of higher LGUs over their component LGUs. Pursuant to Section 25 of the Local Government Code, the President has supervisory authority directly over provinces, highly urbanized cities, and independent component cities, while the provinces over its component cities and municipalities, and the city and the municipality with respect to their barangays. To highlight this complementation, for a province, for example, to pass the SGLG, at least 10% of its component cities and municipalities should be passers also. Lastly, there are also indicators that look into the accomplishment of plans, the fund utilization rate of select local funds, and financing grants from national government, and delivery of frontline services, and most importantly, the outcome of such reforms, such as the growth in local government units' locally sourced revenue. One of the best features of SGLG is its comprehensive coverage. We hope to engage all provinces, cities, and municipalities nationwide. However, there are conditions that impede its attainment. In 2019, for example, the department recorded the largest coverage in the assessment thus far, with only 9 municipalities in BARM that were not covered. These LGUs are either new non-ERA LGUs or municipalities experiencing some peace and order concerns. As a feedback mechanism and monitoring tool, local government units receive a governance assessment report, or what we call GAR. We are upgrading our LGPMS website, our online data gathering facility for SGLG, so that the GAR of all LGUs are also uploaded there for transparency. Our DILG field officers also conduct exit conference after the SGLG assessment cycle to explain the content of the GAR to the LGUs. In the example given here in the screen, a green mark indicates that the LGU met the highest level of requirements for the indicator. Yellow indicates that the LGU is given a special consideration due to a specific local condition. On the other hand, a red mark shows that the LGU failed in that particular indicator. In 2019, the SGLG was finally institutionalized with the enactment of Republic Act 11292, or the SGLG Act of 2019. The IRR was approved on December 28, 2020, and most of the reforms in the implementation of SGLG, especially in terms of policy and indicator development, are anchored on this new law. Here are the current reforms and expected changes as we prepare for SGLG implementation in calendar year 2022 and beyond. First, from 7 governance areas, the SGLG now looks into 10 governance areas. As you can see in this slide, the 3 new areas focus on reforms on education and health, which are previously under the social protection area, and the newest area, which is youth development. Through the 10 governance areas of SGLG, we envision our LGUs to uphold the practice of fiscal discipline and sustainability, and transparency and accountability in the use of public funds, and also to foster resiliency as it prepares for challenges posed by hazards and disasters. SGLG also envisions our local government units to demonstrate responsiveness to the needs of and facilitate meaningful engagement with the vulnerable and marginalized sectors of society, and set up, implement, and sustain health policies and programs that would strengthen and promote the well-being, healthy lifestyle, and safety of the public. We also have areas to ensure that LGUs are implementing education reforms and programs to support the vision of quality education for all, and instituting pro-competitive policies and interventions, and facilitating ease of doing business. Through the SGLG, we also hope that local government units protect their constituents from threats to life and damage to property, and of course, uphold the integrity of their environment. Local government units shall also foster the value of sustainable tourism and nurture culture and heritage, as well as stimulate meaningful participation of youth in local governance and nation building. Please note that these areas can further be expanded over time to integrate other thematic areas and sectoral priorities. The whole of government approach has been further emphasized in SGLG implementation. The law provides for the establishment of a Council of Good Local Governance, or CGLG, which is the overall policy-making and advisory body created to ensure the proper implementation of SGLG. With the reinforced partnerships, we can better integrate sectoral priorities and other devolved functions in our assessment. The Council is composed of the following: the DILG, the DBM, DOF, DOH, DSWD, DepEd, DOT, DNR, NEDA, DND, and 1 representative from the basic sector nominated by the National Anti-Poverty Commission. The CGLG is being chaired by the DILG Secretary, and all the technical and administrative activities of the Council are being handled by the Secretariat, which is headed by our Bureau, the BLGS, and ang mga members ng SGLG Secretariat team, nandito po sila ngayon. They are joining us, and I acknowledge po yung hard work nila sa pagbuo po ng mula po sa IRR, gawa po ng mga indicators hanggang ngayon po habang fina-finalize natin. So I'm acknowledging their hard work. Okay. Each governance area has a TWG, Technical Working Group, that helps the Council in developing the indicators, benchmarks, and assessment tools. The Council member having jurisdiction or expertise in the area is designated as the TWG head. The Council members designated as TWG heads are shown on the screen. So ayan po sila, ang mga heads ng different TWGs. To further ensure inclusivity, relevance, and acceptability of indicators and benchmarks, appropriate agencies and organizations collaborate and provide inputs during TWG activities. Appropriate basic sector representatives identified by NAPC also sit as members of the TWGs. So for financial administration, that's the TWG is headed by DOF, Disaster Preparedness, OCD, Social Protection, DSWD, Safe, Peace, and Order, DILG through the BLGS, Environmental Management, DNR, Tourism, Heritage and Development, Culture and Arts, DOT, Sustainable Education, DepEd, Health Compliance and Responsiveness, DOH, Business Friendliness and Competitiveness, the Bureau of Local Government Development and DTI, Youth Development, co-lead by NYC and National Barangay Operations Office. Okay. The SGLG Incentive Fund, or what we call previously the Performance Challenge Fund. In the SGLG law, a special account must be created under the General Appropriations Act for the granting of incentives to LGUs. LGUs that qualify for the SGLG. This means that SGLG has an assured funding in our General Appropriations Act. So here are some of the eligible projects under the SGLG Incentive Fund. So this is being managed by the Bureau of Local Government Development. They are also exploring to incentivize 4 to 6 class municipalities that pass the Good Financial Housekeeping Assessment. This, however, is still in the proposal stage, I understand, and with no committed fund allocation yet. Okay. The results of the SGLG assessment shall now be used by concerned national government agencies, especially the members of the Council of Good Local Governance and the different technical working groups. They can use this as reference in the identification of beneficiaries of performance-based incentives and other capacity development programs whenever appropriate. And here are the current reforms and expected changes as we prepare for the SGLG implementation in calendar year 2022 and beyond. In developing the criteria and implementation strategy, the CGLG members, as you know, all the indicators that will be used for the SGLG should be approved by the council. So they are taking these things into consideration. First, we'll be having the general election in 2022. Second, LGU performance, especially in from calendar year 2020 up to the present, are hugely affected by the prevailing challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Calendar year 2022 will be the first year of the implementation of full devolution. And also next year will also be the first time, as I mentioned earlier, that the SGLG Act will be in full implementation given the cancellation of assessments in 2020 and 2021. So following the provisions of the SGLG law, this is now the new SGLG implementation phase. The Council, with the help of the TWGs, develops and promulgates the performance indicators. This will serve as the LGU's basis in preparing the necessary documents, facilities, and services relative to the assessment. Once promulgated, regional assessment commences to be primarily conducted by DILG regional offices, together with their partner NGOs, NCSOs, and national government agencies, if applicable. It involves orientation with LGUs, data gathering, and shortlisting. Regional assessment shall involve on-site visit, interview, and documentary review. While we prefer face-to-face assessment, we are highly considering the use of online web-based platforms, depending on the situation next year. After the regional assessment, the national assessment team, which is the Council Secretariat, conducts national data processing and quality check. The shortlisted LGUs will be subjected to further validation to be conducted by the national assessment team and cross-posted regional teams. The final list of passers are then endorsed to the council for deliberation and endorsement to the chairperson for his approval. So here is the indicative timeline for the process that I have just mentioned. I think the most important point to remember here is the deadline for regional assessment, probably around April 2022. Okay. This is to ensure that the needed data have been collected prior to the upcoming general election in May 2022. To ensure the early start of SGLG assessment in 2022, the Council and TWGs are now working double time to finalize the SGLG indicators and assessment strategy. They are deliberating on the indicators and benchmarks since July of this year. We hope to issue the DILG Memorandum Circular containing this upgraded or new indicators before the year ends. On the other hand, we at the BLGS, which serves as the Council Secretariat, are working closely with the DILG ISTMS and our regional and field offices for the development or updating of our SGLG tools. We have revived the local governance performance management system, or the LGPMS, to be the primary data capture form or DCF facility for SGLG to enable immediate data transfer from the regional or provincial level to the national level. The LGPMS facility, together with the assessment forms and technical notes, were also subjected to pilot tests among 10% of provinces, cities, and municipalities nationwide from August to October 2021. I think the deadline for this was last October 22. Well, the field test was primarily focused on testing the performance of the new online platform of the SGLG. Feedback were also gathered on the indicators used for this undertaking. Basically, the supposed 2021 parameters were used for the field test. The field test results are as follows. Based on consolidated feedback, there is a need to revisit the benchmarks or minimum requirements being required, particularly on indicators concerning utilization of LGU funds and newly promulgated laws or guidelines in consideration of the capacity of LGUs, especially in the time of pandemic. It has further affirmed the need to reconcile data of national and local governments for some indicators where NGAs or national government agencies are the primary source of information. The field test also showed that there is a need to redefine the coverage here of some indicators and to integrate more updated or appropriate references to support what we are looking for. And additional indicators are also being recommended to be included, particularly measures concerning LGU actions or response in the fight against COVID-19. A similar exercise is also being administered now by the National Barangay Operations Office with the assistance of our DILG regional and field offices to test the SGLG for barangays or SGLG-B. We are confident that with these preparatory activities, SGLG will be more adaptive and responsive to the emerging challenges that the department and the LGUs face. So what can the local government units do in the meantime? The Council of Good Local Governance has actually prepared the 2021 indicators. While this year's assessment has been suspended, LGUs can actually use these 2021 indicators to initially prepare for the 2022 assessment. The ILG Memorandum Circular 2021-042, which is available at the DILG website, so you can browse it there. It has been posted since April 12, 2021. So this MC provides the supposed indicators that could have been used for the 2021 assessment. So the LGUs can go over it. Most of the TWGs opted to adopt the same set of indicators for the 2022 assessment. However, please note that the reckoning period will be adjusted. So instead of 2019 to 2020 accomplishment, it will then be 2021 to 2022, which will be considered. Also, always aspire to meet higher benchmarks than the ones provided in previous assessments. So here are some of the new or upgraded indicators under the original areas of SGLG. Most of these indicators are actually provided or already in the said MC that I mentioned. So for example, on disaster preparedness, so here are the new sets or upgraded indicators. Participation in 2022 Gawad Kalasag, SEAL, assessment for LDRRMCs and LDRRMOs. Plantilla staff complement for LDRRMO. Under social protection and sensitivity, utilization of 2021 budget and completion of PPAs for the vulnerable sectors, provision of PWD parking space, institutionalization of Public Employment Service Office, and establishment of Senior Citizen Center. Meanwhile, here are some of the examples of the proposed indicators under the three new areas. On sustainable education, functionality of the local school board, organization and regular meetings, completion rate of PPAs or fund utilization of the Special Education Fund, engagements with external partners for education, alignment of LGU-initiated PPAs for education with the education priority areas identified by DepEd. On youth development, functionality of the Local Youth Development Council, establishment of the Local Youth Development Office, presence of a local youth development plan, and provision of LGU support for youth development. On health compliance and responsiveness, complete local investment plan for health, functional local epidemiology surveillance unit, institutionalized DRMH system. So those are just the examples. We cannot share with you yet the whole indicators because, as I've said earlier, the TWGs are still finalizing the different sets of indicators, and that will be approved by the Council of Good Local Governance. For so long after the enactment of the local government code, most performance assessment tools focus primarily into input indicators. With the promise of full devolution, we are also gravitating toward more outcome-oriented performance assessment. Here are some of the examples of result or outcome-oriented indicators. On health, compliance, and responsiveness, for example, we will look at the equal or below mean average for the LGU type in stunting rate among children under 5. At least 47.5% of households with access to safely managed drinking water services. TB case notification rate in 2021 equal to or above 2020 accomplishment. And at least 90% TB treatment success rate. On sustainable education, for example, improvement in pupils' performance indicators like survival rate. What are we expecting to achieve next? First, the finalization and promulgation of performance indicators for calendar year 2022 assessment. Second, the inclusion of other devolved functions to LGUs in the performance indicators starting 2023. Third, tracking of LGU progress across time. Fourth, matching results with menu of interventions available from CGLG member agencies and other NGAs. 5, exploration of other assessment scheme. 6, implementation of the SGLG at the barangay level. And last, conduct of impact evaluation, which could be done every 3 years. So the seal of good local governance is not just about the provision of award or incentives. It is also about providing a roadmap to help the local government units chart their development for their citizenry. Local government units should link performance data to inform decisions and ultimately to responsive LGU actions. Para sa ating mga local government units, hindi tayo nag-aayos ng means of verifications para lamang pumasa sa SGLG. Ang Governance Assessment Report ay hindi basta isang pirasong papel. Isinasagawa ang performance assessment upang makita kung ano ang ating mga kakulangan at mga aspetong dapat nating palakasin. Ginagawa natin ito para masiguradong walang sektor na mapag-iwanan. Ginagawa natin ito para mas madaling makamtan ang ating inaasahan na isang matatag, maginhawa, at panatag na buhay para sa lahat. Thank you very much for your attention at magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Director Vivian, for giving us some key points on the strategies in implementing SGLG in 2022. It is quite refreshing for all of us, I'm sure, to be reintroduced to the concept of performance assessment. And of course, alam ko you are all curious about how the SGLG will be reimagined in the coming years. Maraming salamat ulit, Director VS. Moving on in our closing ceremony, as we bask in the bright future ahead, may we take into account the learnings and wisdom we have accumulated over the past 30 years of implementing the local government code to hammer out a more convergent, cohesive, and balanced strategy towards the attainment of full devolution as we move forward. Now, to refresh us all on the various valuable sessions of the Philippine Local Governance Forum of 2021, as well as to the importance of this year's theme as we gear up to full devolution, allow me to introduce the next speaker who likewise celebrated her birthday earlier this week. October really is dedicated not only to the local government code, but also to the champions of local governance. Ms. Daphne Purnell has been in the public service in the DILG for more than 3 decades. She started as a field officer assigned at the National Capital Region and moved to the Local Government Academy in 1991. She holds a degree in sociology from the Pontifical and Royal University of Santo Tomas and master's in public administration from the National College of Business and Arts. She also earned academic units in regional planning from the University of the Philippines School of Urban and Regional Planning. She is currently pursuing her Master in Crisis and Disaster Risk Management with the Philippine Public Safety College. Ms. Purnell has an extensive experience on local government capacity building, research and development, and knowledge management. She has trained in coaching and facilitation, distance learning, monitoring and evaluation, and local government administration, both locally and overseas. Ms. Purnell is a strong advocate of education for all and knowledge management. And now to discuss the highlights of the PLGF Forum 2021, may I call on the Assistant Director of the Local Government Academy, Ma'am Esmeralda Daphne Purnell. Ma'am, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much, Charles. Nabuko tuloy, ano? Mga birthday. Anyways, to all our distinguished guests, fellow public servants, partners in good local governance, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. You know, this month we celebrated the 30 years of the Local Government Code of 1991, which set the stage for devolution and autonomy for local governments, conferring power and authority upon the various local government units to perform specific functions and responsibilities, which in the past was exercised by the national government. Why devolve? The argument was that since the LGUs are more familiar with the local problems and are accessible to their constituents, they will be more responsive to the needs and complaints of their communities, and therefore, a more effective, inclusive, efficient, and affordable government for improved service delivery. Does devolution work? The past weeks, next, on the slide, okay. Kenneth, next please. Okay, the past weeks of October, we have had the privilege of listening, being exposed to the stories of different innovations and best practices around the country. With the global COVID pandemic gripping our country, we have seen how a devolved response has proven to be the most effective way to manage the crisis. It put the spotlight on the LGUs and their importance in leading and managing the pandemic response at the community level. Next, the past 18 months experience in battling the pandemic expose the weakness of top-down approaches to governance because of the need for LGUs to respond to varying experiences, exposures, and impacts of the virus across the country. The limitations of a one-size-fits-all approach became clearly apparent as the pandemic rolled on. The need for contextualization and adaptation to the crisis as it presented in the local heightened the strength of devolution. So yung silver lining actually ng ating pandemic is that nakita lalo at na-emphasize ang pangangailangan ng devolution dito sa ating bansa. We saw how individual LGUs exercised their voices and took actions appropriate to their local conditions and experiences. Given their proximity to the community, LGUs could tailor their pandemic response plans to align with local needs and priorities. Throughout this one-month forum, next, the diverse inspiring stories shared with us by the LGUs across the country have showed how devolution contributed to the empowerment and improved people participation in local governance. Empowerment and participation, our forum's focus this year, are two distinct concepts that are inextricably linked. Next, hindi or mahirap mapaghiwalay yung dalawang konsepto na ito. Bakit? Kasi empowerment leads to increased participation and participation leads to empowerment. Para silang may symbiotic relationship, di ba? Parang one cannot exist with the other or parang ang hirap paghiwalayin yung dalawang konsepto. Kaya and when we talk about empowerment and participation, the local governments actually exercise empowerment and participation in varied forms through innovative channels to make services more citizen-centric, through the use of technology, gathering inputs from citizens to improve service. For example, nito, ang Dinagat Island, they invited and encouraged investors. And they encourage transparency in decision making with multi-stakeholders, especially ang mga CSOs. Tuguegarao City, very heavy ang kanilang naging experience about initiating ICT projects to enhance LGU efficiency, as well as connectivity and participation of citizens to LGU initiatives. The experience of Pura Tarlac, through continuous improvements, the municipality of Pura was able to expand its water system to ensure exclusivity of its service and include far-flung sitios in providing the services. In the case of Santa Rosa, Laguna, ito napaka-extensive ng ginawa niyang people empowerment and participation. So, inorganize, mobilize niya ang business sector, ang CSOs, mga NGOs, and even private citizens to continue to collaborate in delivering COVID response efforts of the city. So meron silang mga medical facilities established in the private hospitals. Yung mga public transportation to address the problem of the drivers, kinausap nila ito para ano yung problema at sila ang nagpo-provide ng transport para sa mga health workers. Yung mga farmers, hindi sila totally nawala ng trabaho dahil kinausap ang mga CSOs and private sector para bilhin ang kanilang mga produkto. And of course, some other foundations and other private sector were involved, nag-add ng mga funds para dun sa social amelioration support. Those are some of those things na ginawa ng Santa Rosa. In the case of Barangay Libertad, nag-collaborate siya with various stakeholders to implement measures that will make sure that yung kanilang market operation will continue. So sa mga various experiences yan, nakikita natin, talagang nakita na lumabas ang people's participation and empowerment was very visible because of the local government code. Next, a moderating factor that facilitates the achievement of empowerment and participation is capacity development, which is actually the third focus of our forum for this year. When we talk about capacity development, we talk about the 6 capacity pillars, the presence of which enhances the organizational capacity o yung sinasabi kanina ni Director Thelma na absorptive capacity ng mga local governments to implement the mandate bestowed on them by the local government code. So, ito maraming mga klase iba't ibang training programs. Some were initiated by the local government themselves, but the others were initiated by their partner institutions. And that leads me to the other facilitating, moderating factor to achieve empowerment and participation. Another factor is actually the technical assistance being provided by the NGAs, the national government agencies, and of course, our development partners. So when we talk about the NGAs, narinig natin ang DBM, in-explain nila sa atin yung mga different policies that they're putting in place to make sure na hindi ma-overwhelm ang ating mga local governments when full devolution comes into full operation. And yung mga ibang mga NGAs like yung DSWD, DOH, and even DBM to a certain extent. And of course, our very own DILG, may mga manuals, may mga trainings, may mga, in the case of DOH, they even provided assistance to local governments para sa paggawa ng kanilang devolution transition plan, yung DTP. And in the case of the DSWD, nagtayo sila ng Social Welfare and Development Learning Institute to help in anticipation yung mga kailangan nilang bigyan na assistance ng mga local government units when the full devolution comes into full operation. And of course, when you talk about development partners, ano ba ang mga ginawa ng mga development partners natin? Of course, they provided technical assistance, and this technical assistance came in different forms. Like meron dito mga tools, mga financial assistance, merong mga manuals, capacity building, mga assistance in terms of technical mga infrastructure, mga technical experts, mga ganyan. So, ang UNDP, meron silang tinulungan nilang magkaroon ng DevLive para sa monitoring ng mga infrastructure, yung mga projects. And of course, meron yung design lab design lab ng ginawa doon sa BARM. Yung project nila na Bangsamoro Digital Transformation. So it makes use of technology para ma-facilitate ang analysis ng mga datos ng mga nakukuha. Okay? Tapos meron ang Move Up 4, yung kanilang Resilient Livelihood Program for LGUs, and of course yung pag-a-adapt ng alternative temporary shelters into quarantine facilities, lalo na ngayong nagkaroon ng COVID-19. At meron din yung, I think this is the World Bank if I remember correctly, yung Utility of the Future tool to for better water utility mag-assess for better water utilities and services, di ba? Para sa mga local governance. And of course, ang GIZ they have help about yung simplifying the SIDRA by providing the decision support toolkit. Okay? So yun. So ang tanong, devolution works? Yes, devolution works. But the other question is, how? How do we make sure that devolution works? Yung devolution to work effectively. Paano yon? Di ba? Medyo magkaiba yung devolution works dun sa devolution to work. So, that's a very nice question. And for devolution to work effectively, okay, not just to work, but to work effectively, we could see from the local government unit stories, the LGU stories, how they were making better use of different data involving citizens and investing in their employees and collaborating with other sectors. These four elements actually are what McKinsey calls the principles of government by design. Okay? Let's look at closely itong mga examples na ito. Dali po Yan. Sige. So let's look at closely these four elements o yung principles na sinasabi ng government by design. Okay? Na nakikita natin na naging ito actually nakita natin dun sa mga examples na present sa atin ng mga local government units. First, okay, next. When we talk about better evidence for decision making, it is all about increasingly making use of data and statistical analysis to inform decisions. And this includes maraming manifestation, okay? Using data to improve interventions, anchored on the local needs and realities, systematic monitoring to identify slippages and deviations from agreed plans. Kaya karoon ng DevLive, identifying bottlenecks in quality service, collecting credible performance data to assess impacts and identify areas for continuous improvement. And this is very evident. Itong aspeto na to, no, yung performance data na to, very evident ito doon sa Bataan experience na ginamit nila ang HDI to measure performance. Diba? Kakaiba talaga. Napaka forward-looking. And of course, benchmarking consistently against peers to identify innovations, good practices, and lessons. So, hindi sinasabing wag manggaya, but rather get the ideas from the others, nearby LGUs, at tignan how is it going to be applied in our respective LGU. Maximizing efficient use of limited resources through data-driven and financial planning and management. This was shown to us by the Surigao experience, yung Surigao City. Yung putting in place and sustaining knowledge management systems and processes to facilitate informed decision-making and knowledge transfer. Ito, ang very nice example dito, yung ginagawa dun sa BARM, yung project sa BARM. Okay? And dito natin makikita yung na-highlight din the role of the local governance regional resource centers natin sa DILG regional offices. Because why? Because the LGRCs is actually the knowledge hub and they help facilitate, bring down, push the information to the local governments and other interested parties and stakeholders. Anything and everything about local governance. And actually, this whole forum that we had, okay, since no October 12, this was facilitated by the different local governance regional resource centers ng ating mga DILG regional offices. Okay, next. We talk about greater engagement as an empowerment of citizens. Ito yung talagang very visible na ating naging focus for this year's forum. So ito is talking about getting people more involved, not only in the designing of services, but even in the delivery of such services and using technology to improve service delivery. And this involves identifying citizens' priority, local development needs, and implementing responsive programs and services. Kagaya nung nangyari dun sa mga drivers, dun sa mga farmers, di ba? Tinanong sila, ano ang problema, ano pwede nating gawing solusyon? And they came up with the solution. Listening to the voice of the people to inform program and services, design and delivery. So, hindi lang sila ini-involve na beneficiaries, but rather kasama silang nag-identify ng solution. Designing contextualized programs and services that are responsive, relevant, and anchored on community needs and realities. Using innovative channels, approaches, and technologies to make services more citizen-centric. Napaka-ICT, the Tugagaraw experience, if I remember it right, talagang they use ICT to improve service delivery. So yung mga tao na gumagamit ng mga services nila using the technology feels a little empowered, di ba? Kasi meron silang control rather than yung kausap nila nagko-control sa mga ginagawa nilang mga application. Now they're able to control a little about the services that they're asking from the government. Also, yung soliciting citizen input to identify bottlenecks and improve public services. Tapping citizens to help plan, design, and implement, deliver better services, bringing decision-making closer to the community, and enhancing public accountability of LGUs for services rendered anchored on performance and results in implementing devolved functions. Kaya maganda yung DevLive na yan kasi pwedeng mag-report dyan ang mga taong bayan kung talaga bang nagagawa yung mga infra projects ng ating local government units. Okay, next, we talk about investments in expertise and building. Nakita natin na kasama doon sa ginagawa na pag-empower ng mga tao, yung pag-i-implement ng mga local programs, and even the technical assistance that are being provided by the partners, be it NGAs or development partners, and even CSOs and NGOs. Kasama dito ang component ng pag-enhance ng knowledge and skills. And this is really very important. In this 21st century, knowledge workers are actually emerging as being critical to the local economy and sustainable development. And so it is important to invest in enhancing employees' knowledge and ability by providing appropriate capacity building interventions. This covers core competencies, sector-specific capabilities, or broader expertise in strategy and including risk management. So gone are the days na ang mga pinadadala ng mga sa training ay yung mga dahil maganda ang lugar, ay gusto ko makapunta sa Puerto Princesa, gusto ko magpunta sa Siargao. Hindi na ganon, but rather kung ano ang pangangailangan. Kailangan natin kung paano ba makakolekta ng mas maayos para sa tax, ipadala natin sa training. And not only that, adult methodology. So anong ginagawa? Nagko-coaching tayo, nagkakaroon ng mga mentoring. Ayun ang ginagamit na ngayon na mga, because we learn not only in the classroom but also when we exchange knowledge with other experts or practitioners. Okay? So hindi ko na binasa kung anong mga nakalagay dyan. I'm sure you can read this, what has been written there. Ano? Pero gusto ko lang i-emphasize yung bullet number 3, developing specialized institutional capabilities in critical sectors. That is why it is very important then to relate what is going to happen in next year when we the full operation of the devolution. Ano? This is really very critical because kanina binanggit yung LGU segmentation as a CapDev support plan. This is actually helping the local governments to identify what is really needed by them, being appropriate in their capacity building intervention. Kaya importante yung kanilang ginagawa na LGU segmentation. At susundan ito nung ensuring complementation and integration of capacity building interventions for sustained institutional development. Aside from ginawa na ng mga local governments ito as shown in their practices, what is critical now as a way to move forward also is for us to make sure that we have our LGU captive agenda, because that will really ensure yung appropriate access and provision of capacity building interventions for local government units and the personnel of the LGUs. Okay, next, providing, the next one is all about closer collaboration with the private sector. Okay, closer collaboration with the private and social sectors. This talks about the need for the government to collaborate with other local governance stakeholders, adopting not just a whole of society, not just a whole of government approach, but rather a whole of society approach. Kasi when we talk of whole of government, it's all just the government institution. So we now become, nakita natin, mas naging inclusive yung naging approach ng ating mga local governments. Kasi naging whole of society, in-involve ang business, in-involve ang mga CSOs, ang mga private institutions, foundations, ang mga TODA, di ba? Ang mga farmers. Yun, di ba? So doon pa lang nakikita natin na nagkaroon ng closer collaboration with the private and social sector. Okay. Kenneth, naghang ba tayo ng ating naghang ba tayo? Ayan. Okay. So the LGC of 1991, I'm done with that, Kenneth. The LGC of 1991 by the So I just discussed with you the 4 elements, and these 4, the interplay of these 4 elements, it is actually where the heart of the success of devolution lies. Okay? Talagay dito, it is the interplay of these elements, of these 4 elements that lies at the heart of the success of devolution. Itong 4 na to actually present sa mga lahat ng mga ating mga na-present na mga mga nag-share ng mga local governments. And by that, we saw that devolution really works. Okay? This was illustrated actually by the various stories of effective devolution shared over the month, okay, by our LGU colleagues. Let us now recall the key point that was made by Department of Budget and Management Director John Aris Makaspak. Ito maganda kasi yung sinabi niya. Nothing was changed in the mandate of or functions of the local governments. Next. Or as framed in the Local Government Code of 1991 when the Mandanas-Garcia Supreme Court decision was implemented. The mandate and functions of the LGU remain the same. Okay? Oh, sige. Ituloy mo muna yan. Yeah. Going back dito muna, no, just to in a one illustration, I would just like to show to you yung parang naging framework ng ating naging discussion for this forum. We started with the devolution, and we are saying that because of devolution, empowerment, it led to the empowerment and participation of people, which eventually leads to a more effective, inclusive, efficient, and affordable government for improved service delivery. But it's not enough that we have devolution to make sure that there is empowerment and participation towards improved service delivery. Nakita natin na merong mga moderating factors such as the capacity development, making sure that the local government has these 6 elements, okay, present in their local governments to improve their absorptive capacity or organizational capacity. And of course, the moderating factor na NGAs and development partners were there to present, to give different forms of technical assistance. And when we talk about more effective, inclusive, and efficient and affordable government for improved service delivery, sabi nga natin, 4 ang naging present dito, 4 na elemento o prinsipyo. And that's about using data for decision making, greater engagement and empowerment of citizens, investment to in improving the skills of the employees, and again, collaboration with different sectors. And if you will notice, doon sa 4 pillars na yan, yung 4 na elements na minention ko, please go back, yung 4 na elements na minention ko, kita natin, when we talk about greater engagement and empowerment of citizens, that is actually talking about empowerment and participation, which was actually the very center of what we discussed in this forum, together with capacity development. Okay, paano ito nag-manifest? To show to you, ito yon. So, devolution was set to us by the RA 7160, together with the Philippine Constitution, naka-enshrine yan sa Philippine Constitution. And si Honorable Congressman Edgar Chato actually discussed yung naging experience niya because of devolution, yung naging transition na nangyari, transformation nangyari sa kanya as a person and as a leader, as a public servant. Okay? And nakikita natin dito na yung improved service delivery because of the empowerment and participation of the people. Nakita natin yung mga examples ng ating mga local governments. The promotion of tourism industry of Dinagat Island, which is a very new. Sabi nga kanina, di ba? It was the last and the latest I should say, it's the latest province na na-add, kaya 81 na ang provinces natin. Then we have the use of HDI as performance management tool for LGUs ng Bataan. And then the development of local economic enterprise ng Surigao, massive fiscal reforms ng Ilagan City of Isabela, information and communication and technology investment ng Tuguegarao, and nalimutan kong bagitin, dito nga pala sa Tuguegarao, they also made use of academic institutions. And they actually partnering with an institution even in Singapore to improve their system. So lumalabas pa nga actually outside of the Philippines. Okay? And then we have the PPP in COVID-19 response, public-private partnership response for COVID-19 ng Santa Rosa, Laguna. And of course, yung expansion of the Pura water system ng Pura Tarlac. And ang ganda-ganda nito because down to the barangay level, ipinakita that it can happen. Devolution works, and it is felt and it is exercised by our barangays through this Libertad Public Market operation ng Barangay Libertad sa Butuan City. Okay? So nakikita natin, sabi nga ni Director John Aris Macaspac, nothing was changed in the mandate or functions of the local governments as framed in the LGC of 1991 by the Mandanas Garcia Supreme Court decisions. The mandate and functions of LGUs remain the same. Rather, the ruling simply forced the national government to re-examine the LGC and work with the local government units to fully operationalize devolution as the code has envisioned in the first place. In particular, it emphasized the importance of allocating financial resources to LGUs needed for the delivery of basic services expected of them. Okay? This had been devolved on paper. Oo nga, may devolution, but in the past, it seems that this was just devolved in paper 30 years ago. But in the absence of funding, we're challenging to fully operationalize. Dahil wala sa papel lang yung naging devolution to some extent, not fully. Naging mahirap ang pag-implement. Next. Okay? So this had been devolved and of course now that the funding bottleneck has been addressed, the attention shifts to the readiness of our LGUs to plan for making full devolution work for the betterment of the lives of their constituents. This morning, we were introduced to the re-rationalized or the revitalized SGLG. Present sa atin yan ni Director VS, di ba? Meron siyang sharing. And makita natin ngayon that the SGLG becomes now the basis for government to help LGUs in terms of capacity development, okay, in the different areas, including providing training programs. And as Director Thelma explained in her presentation kanina, LGA recognizes that LGUs have different levels of capacities and readiness, or yung sinasabi nating organizational absorptive capacity to take on the challenge of full devolution. There is a segmentation that's being done of the LGUs according to their capacity and performance. Hence, the critical importance of LGU developing a contextually relevant captive agenda to provide the necessary support to ensure devolution works and works well in their specific locality. So, tatanungin natin ngayon, does devolution work? Kenneth, does devolution work? We heard the different LGU representatives through the leagues of local governments, yung mga representatives nila. Next. Okay. Narinig. Balikan lang natin yung mga sinabi ng mga league representatives. Okay? Because this is all about local government code, devolution, local autonomy. This is all about local government units. So let's go back briefly lang kung ano yung mga sinabi nila. Sabi ni Mayor Evelio Leonardia, who is the president of the League of Cities of the Philippines, we saw how local government has flourished all these years. We've seen that the LGUs have been a very significant and substantial contribution to our nation building. The local government is what has changed the ball game, that has propelled us to here we are today. So, makikita natin, they really believe that devolution works. Tingnan natin, sino yung meron pang sinabi about devolution? Next. Next, please. Okay. Meron ba yata before that? I think there's one before that. Yan. According to Attorney Cynthia Falcotelo Fortes, who is with the League of Municipalities of the Philippines, with EO 138 now to be implemented, we caution LGUs to not mistake forest for the trees. The supposed manna from heaven comes with added deliverables. However, let us look at the bigger picture that beginning on 2022, LGUs, regardless of income classification, have the fiscal resources to better their services. So napaka-positive ng kanilang paningin regarding devolution. Okay? And let's move to the next. Yung sinabi naman sa atin ni Executive Director Sandra Paredes, speaking on behalf of the League of Provinces of the Philippines. Sabi niya, for 2022 and beyond, we are steadfast in our commitment to protect the aims we have achieved for devolution and decentralization. We will continue to be an effective partner of the national government for forum and intervention to help ensure progressive policies and programs for the national government in pursuing good governance. Okay, sinabi yan. Galing yan sa mga provinces naman, sa mga governors natin. So next, ano ba yung nakalagay na next na statement dito? See, even from the barangay level, si Honorable Eden Pineda, siya yung presidente ng Liga ng mga Barangay. Sabi niya, the operative principles of decentralization shall guide the formulation of policies and measures of good barangay governance. We know in the barangay that being effective and efficient is a matter of choice. When we fully focus, we are able to deliver. It is never about how difficult a situation is. It is about how focused we are on things that really matter, sabi niya. And I think this is the last from our local government officials. Next, please. Yan. Sabi ni Governor Dax Cua of Quirino, who was also the president of the Union for Local Authorities in the Philippines. Sabi niya, the local government code has brought a world of opportunity for our localities. LGUs directly serve the people and are the outlets of the bureaucracy on the ground. Therefore, we are the face of the government to the people. There are still many opportunities for us to unlock. Kaya marami pa. This is not the end of just because we're doing full devolution. Tapos na. Marami pa tayong opportunities na i-unlock, sabi ni Governor Dax. With the local government code reaching 30 years since its passage, we hope that this celebration paves the way for us to review and reform the legislation. So meron pa tayong naiiwan na trabaho. Kailangan pang magkaroon ng sunset review ang ating LGC, yung RA 7160. So, in closing, let us continue the challenge. Let's continue the challenge of bringing to life the words of former Senator Aquilino Pimentel Jr., who is considered as the father of the Local Government Code of 1991. And he said, from our history and from my own experience as a local government executive, it is proven that no administration can accelerate the pace of development of the country unless there is a substantial transfer of devolution of power from the central government to the local governments. And so, in closing, we in the DILG, with the different national government agencies and development partners, and of course, the local governance regional resource centers in the different DILG regional offices, we stand ready to be your partner in the rolling out of your various CapDev agenda plans. Together, let us continue changing mindsets, influencing behavior. Thank you very much. Back to you, Charles.
Maraming salamat po, Assistant Director Daphne Purnell. Indeed, the stories that you have refreshed us with, gaya na sinabi po natin kanina, are manifestations that indeed devolution works. And for devolution to more meaningfully work, you emphasize that LGUs should make use of data effectively, involve, empower citizens, establish collaborations, And of course, investments on expertise and skills are also necessary. So napakagandang wrap-up po ito ng mga nakalipas na PLGF sessions natin. So but before we move forward to the almost last part of today's session, magpa-trivia muna tayo. I have one question for everyone here, both in Zoom and the Facebook Live and also in YouTube. Trivia, paunahan na lang po. Ang nakikita ko ay sa Zoom room. What Philippine province was formerly called the Compostela Valley? Again, what Philippine province was formerly called the Compostela Valley? Wow. Oh, ang daming sagot. I see answers. Caraga, Davao Oriental. Caraga is not a province? Okay. So, ang daming nag-chat. Everyone is still tuned in. Yan. It's nice to know that we are aware of these developments in our local government units, even their names, the changes in their status, and all. So, yan. So, sige, reveal na natin yung sagot. The answer is Davao de Oro. Davao de Oro was formerly called the Compostela Valley in Region 11 or the Davao region. Okay? Yan lang ang munting patrivia natin sa lahat. Moving forward, this year's celebration of the 30th anniversary of the Local Government Code through the Philippine Local Governance Forum 2021 seeks to highlight the efforts and notable achievements of outstanding local governments, as well as partners and enabling institutions that play strategic roles in harnessing the potentials and in facilitating the maturing process towards full devolution. Now, in our next part, we have invited key officials from the other branch of government, specifically on the legislative branch. Our first distinguished speaker will highlight the legislative agenda to strengthen local governance as well as to express support for full devolution. Allow me to introduce the first guest of honor. He is a seasoned public servant and has devoted his life to excellence in local governance as shown by his stint as local chief executive of Tagaytay City. He also served as the president of the League of Cities of the Philippines from 2001 to 2004 and was likewise the chairman of the Metro Manila Development Authority from 2010 to 2015. His tenure at the MMDA showcased his knowledge and skills in urban management, sparked his advocacy for disaster preparedness and resiliency, and deepened his passion to serve the people even amidst the dangers of disasters and calamities. Our guest of honor is also an esteemed international lawyer who has completed his Master's of Laws degree from the University of London, specializing in public international law. He also pursued his Doctor of Judicial Science Studies in Tulane University Law School in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the United States of America. He passed both the Philippine Bar and the New York State Bar exams, and likewise a Brigadier General in the Philippine Army Reserve. Adding to the list of his accomplishments, he was elected as Senator of the Philippines last May 2019 and was also former political advisor to President Rodrigo Duterte and became his main troubleshooter during crisis, disasters, and emergencies. Currently, he is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Local Government and the Senate Committee on Urban Planning, Housing, and Resettlement, in addition to his membership in other several Senate committees. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my rarest privilege to present to you Senator Francis N. Tolentino.
The Local Government Academy. Distinguished guests, a pleasant morning to all. First, congratulations are in place for the diligent officials of the LGA for successfully organizing the 2021 Philippine Local Government Forum. This is consistent with LGA's commitment to provide excellent, innovative training solutions to the local government units. This event serves as a timely reminder on the essence of local governance, working on the ground and going to grassroots communities to serve. Kahit po may pandemya, ginagawa niyo po yung dapat gawin. Next year brings a greater challenge to all our LGUs as we prepare for the implementation of the Supreme Court's ruling in the Mandanas versus Chowa case. Malapit na po itong ipatupad at naniniwala po ako na handang-handa na yung ating mga pamahalaan lokal. Bagamat marami pa po tayong national government agencies na pinaghahandaan yung transition devolution plans. In figures, this means an increase in the LGU's just share in the national wealth by around 32.16% based on the National Expenditure Program for fiscal year 2022. While we are still deliberating the national budget in the Senate, allocations to LGUs will increase by 1.16 trillion pesos compared to the current year's allocations amounting to 844.68 billion pesos, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, allocations to LGUs alone account for more than 22% of the forthcoming year's budget, which is around 5.024 trillion for 2022, and 5.06% of the next year's projected gross domestic product. This increased fiscal power comes with greater accountability in ensuring a more efficient and inclusive local governance. Napataon po sa pagpapatupad dito, magkakaroon din tayo ng mga halalan sa iba't ibang sa lahat ng pamahalaan lokal sa ating bansa. This projected increase allocation to LGUs amount to a corresponding decrease in the budget of the national government. Bababa naman po para sa pamahalaang nasyonal. This means LGUs will have greater spending responsibility in ensuring that basic services are delivered to their constituents. Paano po gagawin ito? Siguro ito yung i-discuss nyo sa mga darating na oras. However, we must view the concept of decentralization as not just the downloading of financial resources to LGUs for our local chief executives to utilize, but for the would-be elected local officials, this is a great time to reinforce local administrative and fiscal services that would incentivize their constituents. Marami pong inaasahan sa inyo sa bahagi ng agrikultura, sa health, sa cooperativism, sa tourism, at marami pang iba, maging ang public works. This is an opportunity to formulate policies that would drastically improve local health services, education systems, and the manner by which your constituents' voices and needs are heard. To make the real full promise of an efficient and transparent decentralization, efforts from all government fronts must be exerted in ensuring the capacity and readiness of LGUs. Nakakalungkot lang, marami pa rin ako natatanong na national government agencies na hindi pa nila totoong naunawaan ang diwa nitong Mandanas ruling. Hindi pa tapos yung devolution transition plans ng iba, hindi ko nababanggitin. And as chair of the Senate Committee on Local Government, I initiated the filing of measures that would ensure the proper and orderly implementation of the Mandanas ruling. And this is embodied in Senate Resolution 788, introduced by yours truly. Moreover, amendments to the Local Government Code set RA 7160 is in the offing, and a lot of pending measures before the Senate that would seek to further strengthen the capabilities of LGUs. Kasama na po dyan yung waste to energy, kasama na po dyan yung pagbibigay ng karagdagang poder sa mga LGUs, lalong-lalo na sa transportation. Some of the measures include establishing a digitized system for local inventory and warehousing, enhancing LGU's digital transformation capacity, and including general services and human reserve management offices in the LGU's organization structure. Aim at improving the delivery of basic services with the utmost transparency and integrity. These measures will facilitate a better operational framework for the LGUs. As the Local Government Academy celebrates its 30th year, the call for consistent and continuous capacity development interventions for LGUs intensifies. And in the light of the Mandanas ruling that I had mentioned a while ago, the Local Government Academy together with their executive departments, together with other executive departments, such as the DDM, the NEDA, the DOF, the Development Academy of the Philippines, also play a crucial role in ensuring that government resources are efficiently utilized in developing mechanisms to prepare LGUs for a more expanded decentralization. Gusto ko na rin i-advertise po ito that this month of November, my office, with the help of DAP, of mga magalit ng LGA, which is based in Tagaytay, my city, will be initiating a new program that would likewise train, select LGUs, select mayors and governors in cooperation with the Lee Kuan Yew Institute of Singapore. Katulong din po dyan, of course, ang LGA. Lastly, emphasis must be made on the importance of pushing for sustainable development at the local level. All efforts made by the mayors, the local chief executives, the governors, from here on must be aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The engagement of the private sector, indigenous peoples, other stakeholders is indispensable in pursuing these goals. As public servants, tasked to assist in ensuring that nothing but excellence thrives in local governance, let us vigorously pursue strategies that will empower our LGUs. In this regard, congratulations talaga ang nararapat para sa ating Local Government Academy. More power to the Local Government Academy and to our local government units. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat at maraming salamat muli sa LGA. Dagang salamat. Mabuhay po ang Pilipinas. Ito po Senator Francis Tolentino.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Senator Francis Tolentino. Thank you for your continued support to the realization of our collective aspirations for meaningful local autonomy and development, and of course, the implementation of full devolution. Ngayon naman po, let's hear from the lower house. We are also fortunate to have no less than the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Lord Alan Velasco.
My warmest greetings to the Local Government Academy, led by Executive Director Thelma Vecina, as well as the local government employees and officials attending the 2021 Philippine Local Government Forum. As Speaker of the House, I am honored to join the hardworking men and women of our local government units in this important capacity building event. The theme for this year's event is Full Gear Towards Devolution. This is very timely as the national government prepares for full devolution as a result of the implementation of the Supreme Court ruling in the Mandanas-Garcia petitions, and also in accordance with the devolution transition plans under Executive Order number 138 signed by President Rodrigo Duterte. We look forward towards full devolution along with the increase in the share of national government tax revenue transferred to local governments, because we expect the same to materially address inequality in financial resources among LGUs, improve the capacity of LGUs, and enhance transparency and accountability in governance. I support the strengthening of the local autonomy. I believe that the spirit of the Local Government Act is towards decentralization and devolution of powers. Under the present administration of President Duterte, we must show the people that no one gets left behind. By making the local governments more self-sustaining, we can help assure that the poor and neglected in far-flung sitios are taken care of by their own local governments. The House of Representatives has already passed the laws needed by the executive to strengthen local government and its autonomy. During our budget deliberations, the House has also underscored the need to prepare for full devolution for all the line agencies of the government. Again, I thank the Local Government Academy for organizing this timely forum. More power to the LGUs, and I look forward to having more sustainable and resilient Filipino communities.
Maraming salamat po, House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. Indeed, marami tayong mga narinig na mga insights, kwento, mga bagong ideya at mga gabay sa ating paglalakbay sa pag-transition natin sa full devolution. And to wrap up this session for today and the whole PLGF, it is my honor to call the Undersecretary for Local Government, Yusek Marlo Iringan. Magandang umaga, sir.
Maraming salamat, Alyssa. The Senator of the Republic, Senator Francis Tolentino, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Lord Alan Velasco, the Executive Director of the Local Government Academy, E.D. Telma Vecina, Director Vivian Swansing of the Bureau of Local Government Supervision, Assistant Director Daphne Cornell of the LGA, sa lahat ng mga kawani ng ating kagawaran mula sa Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao, mga lokal na pamunuan at mga lokal na opisyales, mga kalahok mula sa iba't ibang sektor, sa ating 500 at 14 na kalahok na nandito pa ngayon, no, sa oras na ito. Isang mapagpalang umaga at taus-pusong pagpupugay at pagbati sa inyong lahat. Una sa lahat ay kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa inyong walang sawang suporta sa loob ng isang buwang pagdiriwang ng ating Local Government Code Month. Sa ngalan ng aming Kalihim Eduardo Manahan Anyo, kami ay lubos na nagagalak na nakasama kayo sa ika-30 taon ng Local Government Code. Ngayong araw ay ganap nating tatapusin ang mga serye ng pagdiriwang na ito na may dalang panibagong pag-asa na harapin ang marami pang mga bukas tungo sa pagkamit ng ating kolektibong adhikain na maitaas ang antas ng lokal na pamamahala sa buong bansa. Ating nasaksihan ang iba't ibang karanasan, estratehiya at programa ng pampubliko at pribadong sektor na lokal at internasyonal. Natuto tayo at naipamalas ang knowledge sharing at best practices na ating patuloy na gagawin sa larangan ng local governance. Sa buong buwan ng Oktubre, ating tinalakay at binigyang pansin ang mga mahahalagang issue at usapin hinggil sa pamahalaang lokal. Sa proseso ay natuto tayo, nagkaroon tayo ng bagong mga kaalaman at naging mas makabuluhan ang ating mga ginagawa. Ang patuloy na tagumpay ng mga local government units sa pagpapataas ng kanilang kakayahan tungo sa tapat at malinis na pamamahala at pagpapaunlad ay kinakailangang pag-igtingin pa natin. Alam natin na sa darating na panahon ay patuloy ang mga panibagong responsibilidad na kakaharapin ng ating mga lokal na pamahalaan. Nabanggit na po kanina ni Senator Francis Tolentino at House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco. Sa susunod na taon, ang ating mga lokal na pamahalaan ay mahaharap sa mas malaking responsibilidad sa pag-implementasyon ng Supreme Court Decision sa Mandanos Garcia Petition at Executive Order 138, kung saan ang bahagi ng LGUs o ang Internal Revenue Allotment na magiging base sa national taxes ay magkakaroon ng kaakibat na devolusyon at responsibilidad at magkakaroon ng karapatang local autonomy ang ating mga local government units. Kaya inaasahan natin na ang mga lokal na pamahalaan ay mas magiging progresibo sa pagpapatupad ng mga kinakailangang programa at proyekto ng kanilang mga nasasakupan. Inaasahan natin na gagamitin itong oportunidad upang maabot pa ang mga malalayong lugar kung saan ang mga pamilya ay nag-aantay para sa unang patak ng malinis na tubig sa kanilang gripo, pagliwanag ng kanilang mga tahanan sa gabi, o ang pagkongkreto ng kalsadang mag-uugnay sa kanila sa bayan. Katulad ng nasabi ni Senator Tolentino, kailangan mas mapaigting pa ang pagbibigay ng serbisyo sa ating mga mamamayan. Kaya naman po, ganun na rin ang ating paghahanda, ganun na rin ang ating pagsusumikap. Particularly, ang national government ay tutok sa paggabay sa ating mga LGUs dahil alam natin na kinabukasan at pag-unlad ng maraming pamayanan ang nakataya. Hindi man naging madali ang lahat at marami man ang mga dumang pagsubok na humamon sa katatagan ng ating bansa, ay may maliwanag na bukas na nag-aantay sa atin. Sabi nga ng isang manunulat, parang eroplano na kailangan mo nang gumapang bago tuluyang lumipad. Sa ngayon, ang buong bansa ay humaharap sa pagsubok ng pandemya. Gagapang pero makakalipad din. Makakaahon din. Dahil anuman ang maging pagsubok na ating hinaharap, mananatiling panatag ang ating mga diwa dahil alam natin na sa ating landasin ay hindi tayo nag-iisa. Sa anumang hamon, patuloy na magiging matatag ang kooperasyon at pagtutulungan ng lokal at nasyonal na pamahalaan kasama na ang mga pampubliko at pribadong sektor. Tunay nga na sa mga nakaraang 3 dekada, ating nasaksihan ang empowered local governments. And we continue to capacitate, of course, and harness the potentials of local governments toward a shared goal in local autonomy and decentralization. We continue to build capacities, change mindsets, influence behaviors, and during the process, learn to love and trust one another. Sabay ng paggulitan natin sa nakalipas na 3 dekada ng local government code ay ang pagkilala natin sa mga lokal na lingkod bayan na naging kaagapay sa pambansang kaunlaran. Sa maraming taon, hindi nagpintis ang pagsusumikap ng maraming lokal na pamunuan na akuin ang responsibilidad hindi para sa kapangyarihan, kundi para sa pagkamit ng adhikaing bayan. Kami ay lubos na humahanga at nagpapasalamat sa inyong lahat. Uulitin ko po, kami ay lubos na humahanga at nagpapasalamat sa inyong lahat. Magmula sa barangay health workers na nagsisilbing doktor, nurse, midwife sa mga lugar na halos di marating ng mga health professionals hanggang sa mga gobernador ng lalawigan sa habang kinakaharap nito sa kasagsagan ng pandemya, tunay nga na ang bawat isa, anuman ang tungkuling ginagampanan, ay kabahagi sa adhikaing mapalapit palalo ang gobyerno sa tahanan ng bawat pamilyang Pilipino sa buong bansa. Ang ating tema, capacity development, participation, empowerment, and these are the focus of this year's Philippine Local Governance Forum. We hope that this forum help in further preparing our local government units to transition into full devolution, making well-informed decisions and performing their key roles effectively towards achieving local governance excellence. Ang pagtatapos ng ating pagdiriwang ngayong taon ay ang pagsisimula ng progresibo at sama-samang paggaganap. Patuloy tayong magkaisa at magtulungan para sa pagpapaunlad ng mga lokal na pamahalaan sa buong bansa. Muli, isang makabuluhang local government month po sa ating lahat, and congratulations to the Local Government Academy, the Bureau of Local Government Supervision, and all other bureaus and regional offices of the department which collaborated to make this year's celebration a success. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay kayong lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Yusek Marlo Iringan. Thank you for your inspiration and for being a champion of good and effective local governance. And that officially ends the Philippine Local Governance Forum 2021. We are sure na maraming natutunan sa mga sharing ng ating mga resource speakers ang lahat ng nag-tune in since we started last October 12, 2021. We believe that our local government units as well as our DILG personnel are more ready to take on that challenge as we gear for devolution in 2021. To our participants, the local chief executives and sanggunian members, to the local functionaries, DILG officers, representatives from the academe and private organizations, and community members from all over the country, maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat po ulit at gentle reminders lang po to be able to get your e-certificates, kindly accomplish the feedback form. Gusto po namin magbigay ng mga better experience sa inyo sa mga susunod pang sessions at mga similar activities like this. As you can see on the screen, Please visit the links provided or scan the QR code. You may also message or chat moderators for any queries para po sa ating mga nakatune in sa Zoom. We truly appreciate your feedback, lalo para po sa ikabubuti ng ating mga programa. And please like, follow, and share LGA Facebook page at LGA Philippines and the LGA website at www.lga.gov.ph to know more and get updates about the Philippine Local Governance Forum 2021.
Once again, the Philippine Local Governance Forum 2021 is brought to you by the following organizations: the ALG Office of the Undersecretary for Local Government,
Bureau of Local Government Supervision,
the Bureau of Local Government Development,
Office of Project Development Services,
National Barangay Operations Office,
DILG Region 2,
DILG Region 3,
DILG Region 6,
DILG Region 12,
DILG Caraga Region,
DILG Calabarzon Region,
DILG National Capital Region,
and the Local Government Academy.
And before we go, may we invite everyone to please turn on your video camera for a quick photo opportunity.
All right, so flash those beautiful smiles. And while you're doing that, special shout out lang sa aming mga batchmates sa 49th Batch LGO training o SWAG Batch. And of course, sa lahat ng aming mga kasama sa Bureau of Local Government Supervision.
Pati na rin syempre lahat ng mga DILG officers na naka-tune in sa atin. Hello po sa inyong lahat at sa lahat ng mga local government unit officials and personnel. Maraming salamat po.
All right, so from our tech team sa LGA, can we start doing the photo ops? All right, so keep those smiles shining this beautiful Thursday morning. Ayan.
Baka may viewers din tayo mula sa ibang bansa.
All right.
Hi.
Hello sa mga viewers natin from all over the country and maybe all over the world. So we're moving to the next page. All right. And the next page. Sige, nakakangawit lang po pero ngiti lang po tayo para maganda po ang rehistro natin sa ating documentation. The next page, please. All right. And the next.
Yung mga naka-tune in sa Facebook, hindi na rin tayo.
Yes,
sa YouTube.
sa YouTube, exactly. All right.
You may also share this link para dun sa mga hindi nakahabol sa atin kanina.
Exactly.
So I guess we're done with the photo opportunity. Thank you for the virtual claps. Muli, mula sa Bureau of Local Government Supervision, ako po si Eliza.
At ako si Charles. We would like to thank you for celebrating the Local Government Month.
Bye and keep safe,
Buhay
everyone.
ang LGUs. Mabuhay ang mga LGUs. Keep safe, everyone.
Okay.